My name is K Love, and this is the 410 Pod. I hope you all had a happy holidays. Hope time was well spent with the family. Let's get right into it. I'm a college football coach, and I'm new to the podcast game, man. So I hope everyone bears with me. The purpose of this podcast was really just to talk sports. I have a lot to say all the time, right? Talking to my girlfriend, talking to my friends, talking to my family about sports all day, every day. Primarily football. I've played football for about 12 to 14 years of my life, and now I've gotten into coaching it. And now I want to get into talking about it every single day, right? I do it every day. So why can't I just put pen to paper and just put words to a microphone? So the primary focus of this podcast is really to talk about Baltimore Ravens football, Oklahoma Sooners football, and really any hot topics that are going around in the NFL or college football, even in high school football, right? I focus a lot on high school football. Like I said, I'm a college football coach, so I do a lot of recruiting, and I know a lot about that aspect or realm of football. So I hope everyone enjoys episode 1, the pilot episode. Kick your feet up, lean back in your reclining chairs, grab you a snack and put your headphones in and enjoy the ride. Let's hop right into it, man. Azeez Al-Shaair. Let's talk about that hit. He was definitely in the wrong for the majority of the part, but Trevor Lawrence, you need to learn how to slide faster, man. You slid way too close to the nearest defender. The referees forgave you on that play simply because you started to spaz out on the field. And now it looks like you're concussed. Hopefully he learns from that. But also, Azeez Al-Shaair, I don't think he deserved to be suspended for it. I agree with the Texans owner, VP. It's absolutely bullshit because we've seen a lot worse hits than this. You know what I mean? Like Pat Mahomes got hit right in the head, right out of bounds. Nothing happened to that defender, whoever did it to them. Lamar Jackson gets hit insanely crazy every week. Justin Fields last year got sacked almost 60 times and took insane clotheslines to hell, straight to hell. And no one got suspended. Like, the NFL is extremely inconsistent with suspending people for egregious hits or, things of that nature. And also 3 games, I think that's just a bit much. 1 game is enough, or a half. But he was ejected from the game, so I guess 1 game was fine. But 3 games is a bit much. Just fine him, just like you do everyone else. Everyone else gets fined for dirty hits, late hits, taunting and stuff like that. Why can't he get treated the same? Is it because the dude got concussed? You know what I mean? Like, Tua got hit earlier in the year. Probably should have ended his career. But that dude didn't get fined. Maybe he got fined, but he didn't get suspended for 3 games. That's for sure. Shoot, we could even talk about the Vontaze Burfict incident almost 10 years ago that sent Antonio Brown to the CTE ward. He didn't get suspended. Vontaze Burfict still played in the league just fine. Got paid that year. And he sent someone to the CTE ward. I just think it's unfair, man. The Texans are definitely going to miss him. I don't know who they have for Shaair as a backup, but hopefully he can step in and do as much as Shaair did for them. But I will say, Shaair is known for his dirty antics. He had an incident versus Caleb Williams earlier in the season. It was week 2. Late hit out of bounds. Then he threw a jab at a player on the sideline. He had a late hit on Tom Brady in his last year, where he quite literally tried to choke slam him. You know what I mean? He tackled Tony Pollard late out of bounds last month in November. So I guess he is known for his dirty antics, so that might be why they added the extra 2 games onto his suspension, because, the hit yeah, the hit was bad. But Trevor Lawrence still need to slide early, man. Protect yourself. Learn from Tua. Man. Jackson Arnold, Oklahoma quarterback, hits the transfer portal about 45 minutes ago from our current time. Now, I'm an OU fan. Die hard. I'm not mad at this. I think he deserves a fresh start. Oklahoma didn't really treat him right, man. We didn't treat him right at all. We should have never benched him versus Tennessee. That was it right there with Jackson Arnold. You know, they can say everything they wanted to say all season about him being in the media, you know, saying that he's a leader, still a leader on the team, acting like he's still QB1, even though he was QB2 at the time. Yeah, I don't care about that. I don't care about all that shit. We benched him for no reason early on in the season versus the number, at the time, 6 or 7 ranked team in the country. It's just not right. This kid's in his second year, first year starting, and he's a former 5-star quarterback. You give him a fucking chance. You fired the OC, good, but you still shouldn't have benched him. Get him in O-line. We need to invest in the offensive line this offseason. Like, we landed 2 5-star O-linemen today. Shout out to OU's recruiting team for doing that, but I wish we did that last year for Jackson Arnold. But it's whatever. We got Wazoo's OC. Can't pronounce that dude's last name. It's like 30 letters long, but he's really good. They put up a lot of yards this year, put up a lot of touchdowns this year, something that Oklahoma did not do because we were just extremely inconsistent with the play calling. We turned into Georgia Tech mid-season. Triple option. But the Wazoo OC will be a great addition for us, man. The Wazoo quarterback John Mateer also hit the transfer portal probably 10 minutes before Jackson Arnold did. I think he's going to be a Sooner by the end of the week. Mark my words, man. John Mateer, welcome to Sooner Nation. That's all I got to say. He put up 3,100 passing yards this year, 29 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. You know what I mean? He put up numbers. Something that we didn't do. Also ran the ball for 890 yards as a quarterback in his first full year starting. That's impressive, man. If he does come to Oklahoma, we will need something like that. We'll need that next year. For sure, going into this year 2 of the SEC, it will not be fucking easy. Because Texas is loading up and reloading up. They got another 5-star plus kid in today. We have to keep up with those dudes. We got to start spending money in the offseason. It's do or die time now, man. We made the move, so now we got to fucking ride out. John Mateer, come on down. Come on down, man. Going into the Ravens, man. About 40 minutes ago, it was reported that the Ravens suspended Deontay Johnson for 1 game for conduct detrimental to the team, per Adam Schefter. We haven't used this man more than 5 times. I don't know why he's in the doghouse. I don't know why he's in Harbaugh's doghouse, man, but he needs to figure it the fuck out. He's too good of a player to be in the fucking doghouse, and he's too new of a player to be in the doghouse, man. And we could use him out there. I'm not saying we need him, because I'm still not a fan of the trade. I don't know why we traded for him, but we got him, so we got to fucking use him. We got to find a way to get him on the field, man. And him getting suspended for not wanting to go into the game just shows his true colors. But as we all know, wide receivers are all divas. You know what I mean? When they don't get their touches, they're going to cry. They don't get plays called to their way, they're going to cry. It's very me when it comes to playing wideout, man. It's disappointing. Eric Acosta dropped a statement on it. He said, "We've made the difficult decision to suspend Deontay Johnson for our upcoming game against the New York Giants for conduct detrimental to the team. Deontay's suspension stems from refusing to enter our game against the Philadelphia Eagles, and we will have no further comments on this matter going forward." Yeah. I don't know why you traded for him, man. Don't know why you traded for him, DaCosta. Do not know. We could have traded for D-Hop. You know. We could give Tez Walker a chance. Tez Walker's a really explosive cat. You know, I see him getting reps out there on punt team for the Ravens, and he looks explosive out there, you know. Like, we traded for Deontay Johnson to give him 5 targets in 5 weeks. Like, what are we doing, guys? What are we doing? All right. Let's hop into the first topic of the day, first segment of the day. We're going to get into some flock talk. Strictly flock talk right here. Right? First off, we're going to talk about the bye week. We are 8-5 going into the bye week, sitting in second place in the division. How many games are we behind? Let me see. We are 1 game behind, 2 games behind, 1.5 games behind. Right? Steelers are in first place at 9-3. We're sitting strong in second place at 8-5. I am not too happy with our first half. You know, first of all, it started the season off with a shit ton of penalties against the Chiefs. We lost that game not just because of the last play of the game, not because of the missed throw by Lamar Jackson and Zay Flowers or Rashad Bateman or whomever he was throwing it to. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it's not because of that. We have to stop fucking ourselves. When are we going to learn that these penalties are killing us week in, week out, man? You know, first game of the season, 7 penalties for 64 yards. Fucking ourselves, right? I'm a coach, so this pisses me off looking from the outside looking in, right? I'm a college football coach, former college football player. This pisses me off, right? We played well in the passing game. We almost had 200 rushing yards on the ground. But we sucked on third down. 7 penalties. Fumble lost. Like, we've been playing sloppy football all year long, man. We have to stop fucking ourselves with these penalties, guys. And like that's been the story of our first half of the season, man. We lost to the Raiders week 2. 11 penalties. 109 yards. Not counting the decline penalties, right? Interception. Turned over the ball again. Back-to-back weeks. All right. Inconsistent. Shitty on third down again. Back-to-back weeks. 3 for 11 on third down. Back-to-back weeks. Right? Let's go on. Next, we have the Cowboys. We dominated the Cowboys. Took our foot off the gas in the fourth quarter, allowed them to get back into that game. But also, we fucked ourselves at the end of the game. How? 13 penalties, 105 yards. Right? Another game with double-digit penalties, fellas. I mean, guys. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. Like, go to the Bills. Excuse me. Still, had 8 penalties. 79 yards. We haven't had a game yet with 5 or less penalties so far that I've counted. Ravens, Bengals. Right? There we go. That's our first game with 5 penalties or less. But turned the ball over. We won the game. But I'm going to get to the defense later. We continue to put ourselves in very hostile situations because we're either playing very undisciplined football by getting multiple penalties a game, or we're just not playing clean football and turning it over every week, right? We're in too many close games this year where we shouldn't be. But it's largely part to penalties and turning the ball over, man. We're so inconsistent. We're the best team in the league. By far. But we're the most inconsistent team, fellas. Guys, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we are the most inconsistent team in the league. Too many turnovers. We turning the ball over almost every week. 9 penalties versus the Buccaneers. Yeah, we won, but 9 penalties. Kept them in the game where they lost Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. All right. Lost to Jameis Winston. I bet you we turned the ball over this game. We didn't. But also has 7 penalties, 53 yards, 2 for 10 on third downs. Inconsistent, inefficient. Like the number one offense, that's all that stuff looks great, but really behind the scenes, y'all, we're playing dirty offense, but we're putting up points. That's what I mean by we're the best team, and we're still the most, like, we're the best inconsistent team in the league, or best inefficient team in the league. You know what I mean? Broncos week, 41-10. 41-10. Still have more than 5 penalties. No turnovers, though. Still inefficient on third down. Like, you got to look at the dirty stats, man. Like, the score and all of that. All the points and all of that. That's all cute. That looks good on TV. But what's really going to look good on TV is the Ravens holding up a trophy in February in New Orleans. But the only way they're going to get there is if this week, in the bye week, they have to nail down on the penalties, third down inefficiency, and turnovers. I love that we have number 1 offense in the NFL. Number 2 offense, whatever it is now. I love it. I love it. But when shit hits the fan and, you know, we getting all these illegal man downfields, holdings holdings on big plays, explosive plays, it's going to fuck us in the end. In the playoffs, we'll be first round exits if we don't fix this problem during the bye week. Turnovers, third down efficiency, and penalties. We have to work on that during this bye week. We have to. Right? Which also brings me to my next point. Justin Tucker, man. I want to just say this to the fans out there. This is for the fans out there that are saying, cut Justin Tucker. Release him during the bye week. My first question to y'all is, who are we going to sign? Right? Who are we going to replace Justin Tucker with? Arguably the greatest kicker ever. Who are we going to replace Justin Tucker with in a week? Right? If I look up the free agent kickers available right now. All right. Where are the kickers? I guarantee you, it's no one even close to Justin Tucker on this list. All right, let's go through the list. Harrison Mevis, never heard of him. Lucas Havrisik, never heard of him. Anders Carlson just got cut last year. Jack Podlesny got cut. James Turner got cut. Brett Maher got cut. John Parker Romo got cut. Chad Ryland got cut. Randy Bullock, he's 34 years old, a year younger than Justin Tucker, who also got cut. Matthew Wright, cut. Brandon McManus got cut last year, who was 2 years younger than Justin Tucker. Cade York, very bad. Ramiz Ahmed, never heard of him. Riley Patterson just got cut. We have no one. There's no one out there to replace Justin Tucker. So, for all you delusional Ravens fans that are screaming on Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is, to cut Justin Tucker, get that stupid thought out of your heads, man. It's not happening. It's just not. You don't cut the greatest kicker of all time because this is his first slump. First slump in his career. Right? Justin Tucker is an 8-time All-Pro selection. 8-time All-Pro selection. With his last one being only 2 years ago. Only 2 years ago. Yeah, it was second team, but it's All-Pro. Alright? He had a down year last year. Not really a down year. Missed a couple kicks. Sure. Everybody misses a couple kicks. No one is perfect. Right? Career 89% field goal percentage. Just went down because he missed a few kicks last week, which we'll also get to. 7-time Pro Bowler, with his last one being last year. He's gone to the Pro Bowl the last 4 years. Been a Pro Bowl selection the last 4 years in a row. 5 years in a row, sorry. Like, y'all have to chill out. Yes, he's getting inconsistent from 50 plus, but he's 35 years old. Of course he's going to get inconsistent from 30 plus. He scored 1,700 points for us. He is top 5 in points scored for the Ravens all time. Might be top 2. We're not cutting the greatest kicker of all time, or the greatest kicker we've ever had, or our replacement for the worst kicker we've ever had in Ravens history, Billy Cundiff, who cost us a trip to the Super Bowl. Justin Tucker is still the guy. He will get out of this slump. He is a legend, a Hall of Famer. He will figure this shit out. So, until then, we can, as a fan base, we cannot boo him off the field. Kicking is like fucking golf, guys. It's a fucking mental game, and it's you versus the ball. Not you versus anybody in front of you. It's not a manhood game. It is a mental game. So you fans out there, you fake fans out there that keep booing him and calling him out, scream and cut him, forget about it. It ain't happening. Now if we do that, there'll probably be riots in Baltimore City. But that ain't gonna happen. So, on to the next. Who is the blame for the 5 losses so far this season? I don't really have anyone particular to blame, but I have something to blame. Our situational football is the reason why we have 5 losses this year. You know, not calling timeouts when we should have called timeouts. Going for 2-point conversions when we should have just kicked the extra points. I don't like to blame people because it's a collective thing. It's a team. If football's a team game, the entire team loses the game. Not just one person, not just one coach. They all got their fucking asses kicked in those 5 games. But I will say that the things that stuck out to me that are part of the reasons why they lost those 5 games in the first half. Our defense, our defensive play calling in late in games. Third down situations in late in games. Third down situations. I feel like Orr gets into a lot of conservative zone calls, and we get into this radar look, which radar is, the 8-man walked up look, where everybody's pressed up on the outside. We basically get in a cover 1 or a cover 0 look. And we either send 6 or 7 and drop everybody else and drop the remaining 1 or 2, or we just send everybody, right? It's the reason why Wink got fired. That defense does not always work. It doesn't. It may work against undisciplined teams such as a New York Giants, a Carolina Panthers, It may work against those teams. But, teams like the Chiefs and stuff, or like the Eagles, the Bengals, teams with premier quarterbacks, premier wide receivers, they will carve you up. Which is why we got carved up by the Bengals 2 times this season. Allowed Joe Burrow to throw 1,000 yards into those 2 games. Allowed Jamar Chase to have almost 700 receiving yards in those 2 games combined. It's unacceptable, man. Or I will say these past 3 weeks, versus the Eagles, even versus the Eagles, Chargers, and Steelers, he's been calling great games. He hasn't gotten into those radar looks, as I mentioned earlier. He hasn't been bailing, like playing super conservative cover 2 on 3rd and longs when he really needs to be sending pressure, right? Putting pressure on the quarterback in the 3rd and long situations instead of walking everybody up and then just dropping everybody to the sticks, allowing route concepts to just develop. Because if you have all those dudes lined up and you telling the dude to drop back 15 yards from the line of scrimmage to try to get in the way of a Jamar Chase or an Xavier Worthy, or somebody like of that nature, it's hard to do. We don't have those type of dudes on the team that are good at that. Roquan Smith is heavier this year. Trenton Simpson may be able to do it, but you blitz him every time, so they know he's coming. We have to get out of that conservative, soft zone look on 3rd and longs. That's getting us chewed up. It got us chewed up in those first 8 games, I should say. First 8 games, it got us chewed up. And then another thing with the defense is, where is Tre'Davious White? We signed we traded for Trey White too. A lot of people are probably forgetting that we traded for Trey White. Why? Because he hasn't been used really. And when we use him, he's really good. I think he has a couple PBUs already. We've played him in a nickel, played him outside. He's done really well in those few snaps that he gets in each game. I think we need to see more out of Trey White. We could have Trey White and Nate Wiggins on the outside with Marlowe rotating in and out with Trey White. I feel like all 3 of them can play inside and outside. So why not just be versatile with our corners? Because Brandon Stevens is having a down year. I will say that. He is having a very down year compared to what he produced last year. He held Jamar Chase to less than 50 receiving yards in the game last year. And this year, he finally, Jamar Chase just explodes for, 250 yards, 280 yards in a game versus Brandon Stevens. And then Brandon Stevens just really hasn't been the same since that first game. Really hasn't. So I think we need to get Tre'Davious White into the rotation a little more and rotate Nate Wiggins inside and outside with Marlo, right? And then let's get to the safety situation, right? I love the Ardarius Washington move. I love Marcus Williams, bro, but he hasn't been consistent this year. He got injured a lot last year. I feel like that's affecting him. That might be affecting him, and why he's playing very hesitant, right? He's not running. He's not like filling the alley in his run fits as explosive as he was last year. A couple years ago when we first got him. When we first got him, he was playing at an all-pro level. Right now, he's playing injured. He's playing scared, I should say. It looks like it is. I'm not going to sit here and, test the dude's manhood or anything, but it looks like he's playing scared out there. And another guy I would like to see in the rotation and in the safety room is Sanusi Kane, right? I don't know if he's still on the team, but if Sanusi Kane is on the team, if you don't know who he is, he's Purdue's safety from last year. He's Purdue's strong/free safety from last year. And he played the star position as well. He wore number 21 at Purdue. He was that dude. Go turn on the tape. Sanusi Kane was that dude. We got a steal in Sanusi Kane, which I thought we were going to use him a lot more. But I guess that's why I'm not an NFL head coach or defensive coordinator. They know better, right? But I think Sanusi Kane would be able to help us rotate it in, kind of playing that Kyle Hamilton role, filling in. He could take Trenton Simpson off the field, right? We could play him in the box. He did a lot of that at Purdue. That's just another athletic body to get in there, right? We got chewed up by Jalen Hurts. We played a Russian quarterback, and he chewed us up, right? Well, let me see the stats versus the Commanders. Because Jaden Daniels also, he only had 20 yards. We did pretty well that game. But I think we also adjusted that game too. Putting Kyle Hamilton in the box a little bit more. Yeah, let me see this. Yeah, Jalen Hurts had a touchdown against us. But also, I hate the Eagles and everything they do as an offense. He gets cheap yards, that tush push. But back to Sanusi Kane. Get him in the mix. Zach Orr, get him in the mix. TJ Tampa, get them both in the mix. We have DBs. Rotate them. We shouldn't be giving up this many yards. We shouldn't. Just shouldn't. Right? Our pass rush has stepped up. I will say that. Our pass rush was sleep. Calvin Noy started the season off electric. 6 sacks in 4 weeks? And then he went silent. Right? He went quiet on us. We can't have that. We need consistent pass rush. We have the guys on the team. I wish we didn't get rid of Jadeveon Clowney last season, but that's another story for another day. We got the guys, right? We paid BK $100 million. $100+ million for BK. Yes, he's been waking up these past few weeks. He definitely turned up against the Chargers. Had a solid game against Philly. But we need more. We need more than solid games out of a $100 million player. D lineman at that, right? I think my man put up 15 sacks last year. And I don't think he's on pace for that this year. So, with 5 games left, I need him to turn up. All right? So, Zach Orr, coming out of this bye, I hope to see Trey White in the mix more. I hope to see our pass rush evolve. I really hope I don't see us getting into our 8-man up looks, right? Our radar looks. I hope we get rid of those looks. I just hope we do. They haven't worked. They haven't worked in 10 years. That's why Wink is out of a job in this league. Because it just does not fucking work. Right? John Harbaugh. Another reason why we have 5 losses this season. I think John Harbaugh needs to step the fuck up and admit that we fucking suck right now. Instead of trying to be riding the high horse, taking the high road, trying to be quote unquote humble. Fuck that. We suck right now. We're giving up way too many fucking points. We're giving up way too many points. Way too many yards. We're not scoring enough points when we should. Too many unfinished drives. Too many fucking penalties in these games. Too many double-digit penalty games. Right? John Harbaugh, who has been our coach since I've been born, needs to step it up. Step it up. Right? Take more control. I'm not saying take more control in play calling or anything like that. That's not your job. You're a special teams guy. I fucking get it. But you're a motivator, right? Fucking motivate. That's it. That's your only job. And then finally, we have to get the kicking, right? It just goes back to Justin Tucker and what we talked about earlier. It's got to get that down. Get that back, because we're losing a lot of games with a lot of missed field goals. A lot of missed field goals in those games. All right. Now, what should we expect coming out of the bye week? I expect us to go into New York, going into Jersey, Big Apple, wherever the stadium is, East Rutherford, I believe, and steamroll. Drew Lock. I cannot lose to Drew Lock. If we lose to Drew Lock, cannot lose to Drew Lock, right? If we make all those adjustments that I just talked about, right? Fixing our defense, finishing drives on offense, right? Making field goals. We should beat the Giants by 40 points. It should look just like the game when we played against Denver, dominating. We should dominate the Giants coming out of the bye week. It's been a long season of playing football, right? We had 12 straight weeks of football, 13 straight weeks of football. Finally get our off week this week. We have to come out of this bye week locked in. We cannot lose any more games. Lost way too many games. Way too many. NFL did that shit on purpose. They tested us. And so far, we're failing the fuck out of that test. But if we go in a clean sweep in these last 5 games, we'll have passed that test. So, I predict us to come out of the bye ready and locked in. Mistakes cleaned up. Rotations cleaned up. Attitudes changed. And we steamroll New York. Following that game, we have a lot of games in a 10-day span. We have 3 games in a 10-day span. 3 games in a 10-day span. All right. Giants on Sunday, December 15th. All right, 6 days later, got Pittsburgh back at home. They coming to the bank, December 21st. Which is also kind of, it's kind of crazy, man. We play December 15th, December 21st, and then December 25th. It's a lot of games in a very short amount of time. So, I hope we are rested in this bye week, coming out of this bye week, because we're going to be playing in a wild card game this year, guys. We're going to be playing in a wild card game. We're going to play in a wild card game. So we got to be ready. Got to beat the Steelers. Right? Held the Steelers to 18 points. Don't think they scored a touchdown in that game. Except one, maybe. We have to be better on offense. Way better than what we did against them the first time. Sloppy. That was sloppy. Yeah, I get it. Steelers is Steelers defense is, their bread and butter, their holy grail. It's what they look forward to. But I don't give a shit about all of that. All the semantics and all the hype. Fuck all of that. They need to go out there and dominate the Steelers. Christmas Day. That's a short time frame. December 21st to December 25th. That is a short time frame. They have 3 days off. And they're right back at it versus the Texans. I don't think we're going to win Christmas Day. That's a lot of football. It's a lot of fucking football. Because they go to play on December 25th. Then 6 days later, right? They got to go play the Steelers. Then 4 days later, they got to go play the Texans. That's a lot of football. I don't think they win that Texans game. I don't know. That's going to be a tough one. The Cleveland game. We cannot lose to Jameis Winston again. Can't. Just can't. Cannot lose to Jameis Winston. Ignore his bullshit. Ignore their bullshit. It's the Cleveland fucking Browns, guys. Treat them like it. Treat them like it. Got to play much better on defense. Capitalize on all those turnovers. Because that's what we didn't do against Cleveland the first time. We should have won that game by 4 touchdowns. But we kept them in the game because we could not capitalize on turnovers. Didn't play complimentary football. And also allowed Jameis Winston to throw for 334 yards and 3 touchdowns. And let a rookie put up almost basically 100 yards on us. Yeah. Got to play clean. I expect us to be in a wild card game. As long as we finish the season strong. And we're going to have to go on a run. I have to go through some tough teams in some tough environments in the playoffs. Probably might have to play Pittsburgh a third time in the playoffs. Then we have to play Kansas City. Probably gonna have to play Buffalo. It's gonna be tough. So they have to be ready. It's gonna be a long 1, 2, 3, 4. About 4 weeks in the playoffs? About 8 weeks. It's going to be a long 8 weeks. So, got to take it week by week, though. Dominate the Giants. That's all they need to be focusing on. That's it. That is it. Now, we're going to jump into our last segment. We're going to talk about some college football today. Because college football is getting out of hand. Specifically speaking about the college football playoff picture right now. I'm gonna get that thing pulled up. The college football playoff picture is blowing my mind. Alabama is apparently back in the picture. Right? They're ranked 11. Like I said again, I'm an Oklahoma Sooner fan. They just lost to us 24-3 versus our practice squad offense. Right? They didn't score a touchdown. Not one. They lost to Vanderbilt this year, who is also another unranked team. They lost to, I believe that is Tennessee this year. Ranked team, right? They've lost. Stephen A was talking about it this morning on First Take. They lost in crucial times of the year. In 3 crucial times of the year. They lost to an unranked team in the beginning of the year. They lost to a ranked team in the middle of the year. And then they lose to an unranked team at the end of the year, who they didn't score a touchdown against. And somehow they are back in the top 12. Somehow. Right? Notre Dame's in a good spot. Georgia, I think Georgia. That's tough, man. They can stay there. That 8 overtime game versus Georgia Tech was scary though, because they were down at one point. They were down 17 nothing at halftime. But Georgia's 100% a playoff team, right? No doubt about it. Ohio State. Now, a lot of people out there think Ohio State, shouldn't be in. I don't think that's the case. It's still, I think they're sitting here at number 6, right? That's perfect spot for them. Yeah, they lost to Michigan. They lost the rivalry game. Who cares? And their other loss was a 1-point game versus the number 1 team in the country, Oregon. Right? So why should they be out? I think people need to eliminate their hate for the team and be realistic, right? Like, we have to be realistic, because if we're not, then you're just going to be sitting there wondering why you're not getting what you want. It's really not about what you want. It's about what it is. Ohio State's a 2-loss team who they lost to. They lost a rivalry game, and they lost to the best team in the nation. Tennessee at 7. That, I don't think Tennessee. See, Tennessee, it's questionable, man. Because who are their losses to this year? Tennessee Vols football. Right. They lost 2 games this year. I mean, it's not terrible. They lost to Georgia. They lost to Arkansas. Now, let's look at Ole Miss. That's who I think should be in. But, I see why now. Yep. Ole Miss lost. Who they lose to? Yeah, I forgot. Ole Miss just lost to Florida. Yeah, Ole Miss just lost to Florida, so I see why they're at 13. Makes a lot more sense. SMU, I think SMU should be ahead of Tennessee. I'm pretty sure SMU has 1 loss. They're 11-1 right now. Sit in first place in the ACC, which is pretty impressive for their first year over there. 11-1, 8-0 in the conference. They should be higher than Tennessee. I think they should be higher than Tennessee. All right. Indiana, very good team. That is a very good football team, whose only loss is to none other, Ohio State. So, Indiana sitting at number 9. That's perfect. Here we go. Boise State. A lot of people have been talking about this. Should the group of 5 have a participation, quote unquote, participation trophy to get in to the college football playoffs? I don't call it a participation trophy, but I think they should have a bid in the playoffs, right? I think Boise State's a good enough team. They almost beat Oregon. They won their conference. Or I think they're about to win their conference. They're going to have to, go through UNLV again. That's going to be a big one. So we'll have to keep a lookout on that game right there. That's a great matchup. 10 versus 20. And it's a rematch. It was a close one last time, sort of, kind of. Ashton Genty went off in that game. Pretty sure he went off for over 200 yards. But does he have what it takes to do it again? I think I see why they put him at 10. They have a Heisman candidate in the backfield who's about to break arguably the greatest running back in college football history record. So, I think they deserve that number 10 bid. Alabama, man. They just cannot be there. Because if Alabama gets in, I believe Ole Miss deserves to get in. Right? Ole Miss deserves to be higher than that. If Alabama's going to be higher than that. I mean, it's high. I don't like this. I just don't. Because you can see what the committee is trying to do. They're just trying to keep Alabama relevant. And trying to make people forget. Like, we're not going to forget that they lost to 2 unranked teams this year. And 1 not scoring a touchdown in the game. We're not going to forget that. The committee has to get this corrected, man, because this is just not fair. They're not even in a championship game. Most of these teams up here are in their championship game. And also most of these top teams up here have validity to their losses. Right? Like Miami. I don't know about Miami either. Not a big fan of Miami, man. They're 6-2 in the conference, 10-2 overall. They didn't really play anybody this year. I mean, Duke is good. JTuck is pretty good. But they lost to JTuck. All right. Lost to an unranked team late in the year. And then just lost to Syracuse. Yeah, they should be out. They lost 2 games late. That's unacceptable. And their point differential isn't good enough. And their strength of schedule also is not good enough. They played Florida A&M, Ball State, Florida at the beginning of the year, who was terrible. South Florida, not good. VTech should have been good. Still only won that game by 4 points. They had to come all the way back versus Cal and only won by 1 point. Beat Louisville by a touchdown. It was a shootout, 52-45. Miami's defense is not good. They're giving up points, man. Dude, looked like a shootout. I think Miami pulled away late in this game. Lost to JTuck 28-23. Yeah, they blew out Wake Forest. They're supposed to, right? They're supposed to. Then they lose to Syracuse in a shootout. That is not a playoff team. They're also not even. Are they playing in their ACC championship? No, they're not. They're not even going to be in the championship game. So why do they deserve a spot in over Iowa State and ASU? I get that they're both about to play in their championship games, their conference championship games, but I believe they've had better seasons than Alabama and Miami. They've won games, meaningful games. And Alabama, I feel like, hasn't. Miami hasn't. Right? It's lost to JTuck. They just lost a meaningful game versus Syracuse. Meaningful. That game was to send them to the ACC championship, and they lost. It's not good. Colorado, man, they fucked themselves, man. That's unfortunate. They were 2 games out, I'm sorry. They had to win that game against Kansas. Forget that. Let's take it back even further. That game against Kansas State. Colorado football. Kansas State. Yeah, they lost to them 31-28. That game right there. That set them off, right? It set them off for that streak they went on. But they can't have that loss right there. That loss kills a lot. It put them in that predicament, right? They were 4-2. No, wait. They were 4-1 going into that game. It's a good K-State's a solid team though. I'm not taking anything away from them. but they can't lose that game. And then the Kansas game, obviously. Defense had to show up, man. They didn't. They allowed that Devin Neal kid to, oh my goodness, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. And Devin Neal had 4 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. Oh boy. In Colorado's run game, next year I hope they harp on that. I know they just brought in Juju. That's great and all, but running the ball is going to win you playoff games. Running the ball is going to win you championships. No run game, no championships. That's how it works. That's how it works. That's what I've been trying to preach about the Ravens the past years, so many years. But that's not what we're talking about. Memphis made it into the top 25. You love to see it, man. Syracuse made it into. Illinois staying in there. UNLV has potential. That's going to be a good game. That's going to be a good game, man. If they win that, they're in. If they win, they're in. If they win, they're in. Now, going back to Alabama and Miami, I've seen a lot of talk today about, Bama being over Miami. Like I said earlier, they both don't belong in there in the first place. They don't belong in there in the first place. But Bama does not even, they just don't belong. I don't think they belong in the top 15. I don't think they belong in the top 20 after that Oklahoma game. They don't. They don't. And, people fail to realize and remember and to speak about Jalen Milroe, right? Heisman candidate to start the year off, first half of the season. What happened? Right? That team fell off badly. Yeah, they won games. But against who? Right? Against who? They lost games. Big games. Big games. They were supposed to go spoil our senior night. That's what everybody said on TV. They went into Oklahoma as almost a 3 touchdown favorite and lost by 3 touchdowns. But somehow they get back in. It doesn't make sense. They don't deserve to be over Miami. Don't deserve to be over Ole Miss. Don't deserve to be over ASU. Iowa State. Clemson probably can get pushed out too. No, they don't deserve to be over Clemson either. Actually, because Clemson is in their championship game. So they should even be higher than that. Don't deserve to be over UNLV. Actually, they deserve to be over UNLV. They're better than them. But I just think it's just the games they lost, man. They're a good team. Alabama's a good team. Don't take me wrong, but they lost games. It didn't I'm calling it how I see it. I'm just telling you what it is and how it is. They lost to bad teams. They shouldn't be that high. Army has 1 loss to a really good team. Notre Dame, who is ranked number 4. Right? And they penalized Army, put them in the gulag, sent them to rank 24. Alright. It doesn't make sense, man. The committee is getting that wrong. They are getting that wrong. Now we're going to jump into our last segment of the day. We're going to talk about the Heisman. The Heisman Trophy finalists. We all know it's Travis Hunter and Ashton Genty. Colorado and Boise State. Right? Street saying Travis Hunter's gonna win it all, right? He's taking it home. Two-way player. He plays a lot of snaps. Got 1,000 yards receiving. He got like 3 picks. I'll pull up his stats really quick. I think he has 3 or 4 picks. He just had that explosive game versus Oklahoma State, right? I get it. That motherfucker's good. Travis Hunter is great. But his impact, I know Heisman isn't an MVP award. It is the best player in college football, right? I get it. But we also cannot discredit Genty's impact. Yes, Travis Hunter, electric. Electric. Both ways, it's impressive. Hasn't been done at this rate before. I get it. 1,100 yards, 14 touchdowns. Very impressive. 4 interceptions. Very impressive. All right, I get it. I get it. Scored 90 points. Very impressive. Now, Genty is on pace to do something that hasn't been done in 40 years almost. Almost 40 years. And has his team sitting in the college football playoffs. Ashton Genty, in my opinion, expert opinion, is the best player in college football. He is. Because here's my thing. Travis Hunter, two-way player, corner and wide receiver. Is he even the best at his position in those two categories? Right? You have to sit there and think about that. Tetaroa McMillan. I believe Tetaroa is a better wide receiver than Travis Hunter. Right? Travis Hunter is a great wide receiver. I'm not discrediting him. I'm being real. Right? Great receiver with an average quarterback. Right? Still put up almost 1,500 yards this year in an average offensive system. Probably is going to be the first true wide receiver taken off the board. All right. Hold on. I can pull this up. There's a couple more names that are better than, that have had better seasons at wide receiver than Travis Hunter. You know, is Travis Hunter the best corner in college football? No. I don't think so. Right? So how can he still be considered the best player if he isn't the best at each of those positions in college football? Right? Ashton Genty is the best running back in college football this year. By far. No one is having a better season than him. No one's had a season like this since, if I'm not mistaken, Derrick Henry. And that is a decade ago. At this point. My man's Ashton Genty has 2,288 yards. And 28 touchdowns. Averaging 7 yards a carry. That is best player in college football product right there. Production right there. I get it. And people love he plays in the Mountain West, plays group of 5 schools, he doesn't play any competition. And I'm like, okay, but some of these same group of 5 schools upset some of these Power 4 schools, I should say. Power 4, not Power 5. It's Power 4 now. They upset some of these Power 4 schools. Right? Ashton Genty has had 5 200-yard games this year. Could have been a lot more if they didn't pull him because they were blowing teams out. He is quite literally winning every single game for this team. Shh. Hey, he played number 7 Oregon. Well, at the time they were number 7. He played Oregon, right? Need I remind you? 25 carries, 192 yards in the game. On the ground, I'm sorry. 7.7 yards per carry. 3 touchdowns with a long of 70 yards versus a top 10 Power 4 school, right? And they went on to win every game after that. After that loss, they went on to win every single game after that. There's not much left to be said about it. Like, when people discuss Travis Hunter's season, it's almost like they're trying to discredit what Ashton Genty's done. You know, everyone brings up Barry Sanders and Derrick Henry and those guys. And everyone brings up snaps played, you know what I mean? Like, Travis Hunter plays almost every snap in the game, or every snap in the game, in every game. That's cool. That's impressive. It's tiring as hell. I know that for a fact. That has to be tiring as hell. But that doesn't mean that he's the best player in college football because he plays a lot of football. That does not grant him to become the best player in college football. It just doesn't. But if he wins it, I won't be surprised. Had a hell of a year as a two-way fucking player. Hasn't been done before. Cool. But if Ashton Genty loses, still, it's cool. But if he wins, the committee, in my opinion, made the right choice. If Ashton Genty wins the Heisman this year, they made the right choice. He still has a game or two to, break this record. He's not far off. He's only, 300 and some change off? He can easily do that in 2 games. Especially if he continues to put up the numbers that he has. He hasn't put up less than 150 or less than 100 yards this season. Just hasn't. So, he's destined for greatness, man. I think Travis Hunter is going to be a top 3 pick. I think Ashton Genty will be a top 10 pick, depending on how they value him. He had 300 carries this year, which is a shit ton. That motherfucker is the workhorse for Boise State. Best player in the country. Man. Not much left to be said. Like, giving that man a fucking trophy. Travis Hunter, probably go first or second. Two-way player. You can put him anywhere. And he's going to thrive. He's an athletic junkie. It's insane. He's a freak, specimen. Shout out, congratulations to both of those guys on all of their accomplishments this year. But my vote is going to Ashton Genty. If I had a chance to vote for the Heisman, it would go to Ashton Genty. His season was unbelievable. 300 carries, 2,200 yards just in the regular season and 28 touchdowns. Still have 2 games to go, at least. Averaging 7 yards a carry. At least. And that will do it for the first ever episode of the 410 Pod. I hope everyone enjoyed. Thank you for listening. Happy holidays. And I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of their week. Peace.